Northwestern Tournament of Champions. Video application optional. Contestant Tiffany Wang.
如果我们一定要玩这个游戏，这我们可以玩得非常的好。Translation: If we must play this game, then we can play it very well. Well said, Mr. President. President Xi Jinping, President of China, made this announcement towards China Daily in February of 2015, in reference to the fact that his country was now shaking up the technological game in the form of economic changes. However, as time goes on, it was reported by the Reuters News on February 2015 that many people are becoming wary, especially as China's many radical changes have shaken the global sector. And yet, China doesn't seem concerned at all. And while the world takes a pivot towards looking at this one Asian country, more across the world have started wondering the question: what economic changes can China make to shake up the technological game? Well, first, it has dropped several large brands. Next, and looking towards how it's boosted local ones. And finally, in the banking policies that are now set into place. Think different. Well, when Apple first said the words think different, perhaps China dropping its brand on its state-approved list wasn't exactly what it meant. But in dropping several of these world-famous brands, it is the first change that China has made economically and changing up the technological game. In February 25th of 2015, CNN Money found that China had dropped about 3 to 4 large brands, including Cisco, Intel, and finally Apple, off its state-approved purchase list. This goes to show that China is simply not concerned with keeping up any sort of appearances that could potentially hinder it from gaining or winning economically. However, on February 26th of 2015, it was found by a New York Times article that many people wonder why. And the answer is simple. It's in that China has recently been extremely concerned with cyber communication ideals. That is, whenever the NSA was first seen and how it has been spying on several other countries through telecommunication brands, China was immediately taken unaware. And this goes to show in an article that was presented by TOC, one of the head directors at Beijing Normal University, and where he wrote within an opinion editorial in the Beijing News that, right now, China would rather play it safe than sorry. And in dropping several of these large telecommunication brands that had been previously associated with the US's NSA spying, it was definitely playing it as safe as possible. But, of course, in the question of playing it safe, what exactly is China do towards replenishing these technological brands that have been recently dropped? Well, in boosting local brands, it is the second change that China has made towards changing up its technological sphere. On February 25th of 2015, it was found within a copy of The Economist that China has started boosting several local brands in favor of them instead. This is actually an incredibly intelligent move, because The Economist further stated that China needs this. It needs to boost its economy, seeing as recently it's hit an economic stagnation. And boosting the economy locally first, this would further only help with its economy. How? Well, on February 24th of 2015, Economy Watch illustrated the fact that this would lead towards more consumer confidence in seeing that local brands can operate just as well as those outside. Of course, the reasons that China has for dropping these foreign brands and implementing local ones instead is in order to ensure that no such spying or meddling with the technology will occur. But the people will simply take reassurance in the fact that China knows that domestically products can be made just as well. And thus, in boosting the consumer confidence, this will lead towards more spending, which in the end will also lead towards an economy looking up once again. However, in looking up within the economy, China is playing the game extremely well and extremely efficiently. So whenever Xi Jinping first made his bold statement, 我们一定可以赢的, he did have a point. Because right now, China is on a clear path towards 赢这个游戏. Translation: winning the game. But, of course, whenever playing any game, there is always a winner and a loser. So if hypothetically, in this case, China is the winner, then who is on the losing side? Well, that would be the rest of the global society, as well as several European countries that now find fault and panic in the fact that China is dropping so many of these large companies. However, specifically speaking towards these European countries, China's new banking revelations are something to be concerned about. And thus, the final change that China has made economically within its technological sector is to change the banking policies that must be made. On February 24th of 2015, it was announced by a copy of the Wall Street Journal that China has put in more hurdles in place so that any foreign or local bank that wishes to trade or implement money into China will ultimately need to fill out more paperwork and go through more regulatory procedures, all to ensure that China is safe from any sort of spying or hacking. However, many European countries are now furious at this. As found by a copy of the FT, the Financial Times, on February of 2015, it was discovered that many of these European countries now express severe grievances, including the fact that now they say that many countries will wish to not trade with China anymore, shying away from it because of so many procedures that must be put into place. However, they are sorely mistaken, because as Stephen Braxton stated within his book, A Global Economy, China's deterrence will not be in any sort of way implemented. In fact, because China is such a leading power on the world stage, these economic barriers that must be made towards putting these banking policies into place won't deter many countries from wanting to trade with China, because China's name is so strong and it is so efficient at winning this game. So thus, in the end, with its many banking changes, though the European countries may complain for a while, in the end, they will come back to China with open arms. So while thousands across the world may still wonder the question, what economic changes has China made towards changing the technological sector? The answer can be looked at in 3 separate areas. The first is in dropping several of these world brands off its list. Next, in boosting the local ones, and thus the economy. And finally, implementing several new banking procedures. So while Xi Jinping once stated about a game and how he was bound to win it, he does have reason to be so bold and brash, because China will win at any cost. And in the end, 他们每次都会赢. Translation, they will always